Hey folks, so study more of the ancient Egyptian Book of Two Ways, 4,000-year-old coffin text that shows maps of the planet, focused mostly on America, but it also has sections about other places. So this is the section with Australia, his horns that are the Great Barrier Reef, and his leg, which is Coburg Peninsula and Tiwi Islands, and all these guys, Kalimantan, Philippines, Papua, and New Zealand. Although I'm realizing these guys might be, I flipped this one, but maybe I should actually, maybe these are all retrograde, like in like a lot of these gatekeepers are retrograde, basically flipped the opposite direction. So that's interesting. Let's see, my phone only lets me record for like 12 minutes nowadays, so I'm gonna see if I could actually show some of my stuff before this stupid thing cuts me off. Alright, so this is a new comparison of Sri Lanka and India with Mannar, Pamban, and Sri Lanka. So I think it might have been that India was seen as a gateway, that, with this sort of orientation, like this side of the gate is that, it's this coast, and then this side, the other side of the gate is the Indus River, which is what India is named after. India means basically the land across the Indus or whatever. So yeah, that's the Indus. So yeah, this really shows, that it is the correct orientation of everything, because this is basically this. All I did was zoom in. So, and that's basically all they did. And they didn't even zoom in that much on Sri Lanka itself. Arguably, they didn't zoom in at all on Sri Lanka, even though I did a little bit. But they really more zoomed in on Mannar and Pamban Island as these two little dots. That's cool. He's like a little snake or something. Basically, yeah, snake. Although a snake with like a big head, like delineated, so maybe not a snake. See, this is in Australia. I think that these are the islands around this peninsula, which is called Yorke Peninsula with a Yorke. So it's just testament to our good British ingenuity that we discovered Australia, named the two biggest, peninsulas on it, both York, just like we named New York. It's like not even a great name at all, but why would you name, I guarantee the Aborigines were not dumb enough to name the two biggest peninsulas on Australia both the same name. But they distinguish it because they call the other one Cape York Peninsula, and then this is just York Peninsula. So anyway, these are just the islands around it, so they're shaped like it. Just the way Mannar and Pamban were just nondescript circles. That's probably what these would be if they weren't like this. They're just shown like this to indicate that they're in the region of this York Peninsula. And you can see, like, his shoulder, these guys' shoulders are this thing here, and kind of the butt of the leg or something, but that's his shoulder. And then I think his head is probably like this part here, which, because it indents a little there, that's probably the top of his head. And then the other side of him kind of goes that way, but they squeezed him together a bit. So, there you go. They even shaped his foot pretty accurately. If you can call it a foot, not really a foot, but so that's that. Here's like one that I think just symbolizes it, the peninsula itself, York. So I think these guys are hilarious and adorable, like their little dancing legs or whatever. Like, this is great. It's like Mr. Hanky, but not as gross or whatever. Anyway, so like, yeah, York Peninsula, there you go, Ancient Egyptian Book of Two Ways. And in this one, it seems like it really shows, it's really focusing on the area around it. So you can tell that this side is the one where the adjoining or the adjacent coast goes down and then out. So that's this little piece right here, goes down and then up a bit like that. There's that point there. Whereas on this side, it just flows downwards, or it flows, yeah, like that way. So that's this shape right here. So that's a good, weird kind of depiction of him. And again, it shows his foot kind of, even though it's all at different angles and stuff, but foot type of thing. I'm not sure what the text is for all this stuff. I should find out. This is Tasmania. This seems to be the piece of shit. Wow. Okay. It doesn't do that. Okay. So this is basically this guy. He's blue. Like, he's called the one who carries the head, I think. So he's just the Bass Strait and like this light blue kind of raised bay sea type thing, kind of considered part of the Great Australian Bight, I guess they call it, which is this bay over here. So anyway, obviously that's his tail up here, and this seems to be his front foot, and this Tasmania is of course the head. He's the one who carries the head. And I think there is stuff that kind of delineates a lot of this, but I think it's very deliberate that only his front foot actually exists. Like, the rest are just legs without feet, because there's nothing to really, they can't really go anywhere. They're just stuck up against the land. This seems to be a depiction of Papua. He's like a kitty cat with like long ears and a little kitty cat nose and a little kitty cat mouth and whiskers probably. And then he has these weird like skin tags that are like popping off his back, so that's cool. And then he's holding this little guy who's like apparently a lizard. His tail comes down there. Oh, and then this is his knees, apparently. So everybody's just bending their knees and stuff around this whole area. This I showed already, but I just forgot to show one part of it, which is that, or a couple parts, just to point out the accuracy. One is that, sorry for the shaking camera, but one is that this knife is obviously thinner than this one, which is interesting. So, because this knife is very much thinner than, or at least about half as thin as this, or twice as thin as this. So that's one thing to show really the accuracy. Another thing, I was showing that this version actually shows his penis there, which is this little part right there. But it also shows the horns really well, which it doesn't